he beat Anthony Joshua, good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, that's a big if, right?
I mean,
Anthony Joshua,
I do not think.
Olympic gold
Yes.
medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou, like,
know.
good Lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about the promotion or whatever. I have no idea what the actual motivation is for. That fight's not competitive at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua's one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch.
Wade Plemons, host of the Wade Concept podcast, strongly cautions Jake Paul that facing Anthony Joshua could put him at serious physical risk. Plemons notes that Jake walks around at roughly 90 kilograms, while Joshua competes at around 111 kilograms, creating a massive gap in size, strength, and natural power. He stresses that picking opponents for entertainment is one thing, but stepping into the ring with a seasoned heavyweight champion with Olympic pedigree is something entirely different. Anthony Joshua is, after all, an Olympic gold medalist. Plemons warns that if Joshua knocks Jake out, the damage could be career-ending or even life-altering. He argues that this isn't just a mismatch, it's a dangerous gamble. In his view, Jake's financial ambition is blinding him to the true level of risk he is taking.
In making this fight, one, yes, that's the former heavyweight champ. Why is he fighting Jake Paul? And two, why is Jake Paul putting his health and well-being on the line? Because someone asked me on Twitter, Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. And again, it's boxing, not MMA. Jake has a little more experience, but we're talking about a massive size difference. AJ's still relatively young and still relatively got something left in the tank, and he's only fought the world-class guys for the last 10 years. This would be Jake's not only hardest fight, most dangerous fight of his career. If Jake is doing this, it could signal the last one. I'm not even joking. This could signal Jake being like, I'm having one more of these and I'm out. Because where do you go from Anthony Joshua? We'll get into that part in a second, but the Netflix thing. We know that Anthony Joshua is an exclusive fighter to DAZN. Eddie Hearn has stated that multiple times. AJ, I'm pretty sure, even has a piece of DAZN. I could be wrong about that, but he signed a mega deal years ago with them. So for this fight to take place on Netflix would mean DAZN would say, you can have one of our biggest cash draws, and I may be in a revenue share thing, or maybe Netflix pays them some money, but you can have our biggest cash draw, and we don't have an affiliation with it. That seems a bit unrealistic. But having said that, this isn't a report from anybody in the camp. This is not MVP saying it. This is not Eddie Hearn saying it. This is Mike Coppinger, who I guess has talked to people in the camp, but an independent source saying that they are finalizing a deal. Not that they're in talks. They are finalizing a deal. So this is, again, we're talking 1 yard line, first and goal, right?
Boxing Kingdom announced on X that Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is currently being negotiated as a professional boxing match, not an exhibition, and will follow official Queensberry rules. This suggests that discussions are serious and that the fight, if finalized, would use full professional standards, sanctioned officials, and regulated scoring. The stakes, therefore, will be very real for both fighters. Rumors circulating online claim the fight is being lined up for December, creating a massive wave of speculation in the boxing world. However, Eddie Hearn, Joshua's longtime promoter, has dismissed the reports as premature, explaining that no formal contract had been signed and much of the buzz is pure speculation. Meanwhile, veteran journalist Ariel Helwani believes the volume of discussion indicates that something significant is happening behind the scenes. He argues that when rumors gain this much momentum, they usually point to a real event forming possibly late this year or early next year. So, despite Hearn's caution, Helwani remains convinced the fight could materialize sooner than many expect.
Joshua and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell Ring Magazine Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis was canceled. Major props to Paul. So there you have it. In the midst of all this, I did reach out to Eddie Hearn, as did Gareth, and he said, we have spoken, but nothing close, and I doubt he would be so crazy, he being Jake. I then asked him, would you say this report is premature? He said, absolutely. And then I said, can I attribute this to you? And he said, yes. And so what do we make of this, guys? Do we think there's smoke to this fire? PT, what do you think? You think this is something that could actually happen. This would be within the next month, right? This would be sometime between now and probably December 19th or so in that time frame. What do you think?
I think it's a huge fight. You know, I didn't expect this at all. Usually when Jake is in a fight, the odds feel like they're stacked very much in his favor. This is the complete opposite of that. I'd very much agree with Garrett A. Davies' take, which was I'd expect Joshua to obliterate him in a boxing match. I mean, look what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou before that Dubois fight. Like, I mean, it was a completely different affair than the Tyson Fury fight. I think, having heard Eddie Hearn's update and having looked at that tweet again, it feels like boxing's equivalent to the old in the works reporting that we used to see in MMA an awful lot, right? Like when we weren't quite sure, maybe one side had verified that this fight is happening, but you can't get the other side to commit, and it's in the works. It's a huge fight. The one thing I will say is, why would you want that out there? Why would the Ring report this? Why would someone give them that information if it wasn't going to happen? Now, because everything else pales in comparison to this, as far as I'm concerned. Every other fight that they had perspective or potential, I don't think it's as big as Anthony Joshua. So I don't know.
This isn't a
why
ring
they would
fight,
want that.
right? This isn't a ring fight. Anthony Joshua is tied to DAZN. Anthony Joshua has a relationship with Turkey Al Sheikh and Riyadh Season. The ring is owned by
MMA Fighting posted Leon Edwards' reaction on X regarding the potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua bout. Edwards stated that if AJ doesn't knock Jake out within 1 or 2 rounds, the fight must be fixed. His blunt comment highlights the immense gap in power, skill, and experience between the two men. As a reigning UFC welterweight champion, Edwards' viewpoint underscores the danger Jake would face and the widespread doubt surrounding his ability to withstand Joshua's heavyweight power.
I don't know if you've seen this fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate?
I've just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if AJ doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh, yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Cheers.
Francis Ngannou, the former MMA heavyweight champion who transitioned into boxing, once fought Anthony Joshua and suffered a brutal knockout, proving Joshua's power is no illusion and his heavyweight skill is legitimate. Jake Paul previously discussed the possibility of fighting Ngannou, which was already a dangerous idea given Francis's reputation. But now, shifting the conversation to Joshua represents an even greater escalation. Jake is now targeting a man who not only knocked out Ngannou, but has repeatedly shown that his combination of size, speed, and technical skill makes him a nightmare opponent. In short, Jake is chasing an opponent who defeated one of the most feared heavyweights in combat sport, a gamble with huge upside, but enormous risk. Earlier discussions about Jake versus Ngannou were halted when Francis publicly dismissed the idea, calling it disrespectful, and refusing to waste his time fighting a crossover influencer boxer.
With Jake, and everything's wrong with Francis. He can go with Francis. So now all of a sudden you start satisfying both ends of this. Okay. So when that falls through, the rumor is that Francis and Jake are still in talks. Even though Francis did not come through on the event he was offered and the date he was offered, MVP and Netflix may be willing to reschedule everything and still make him part of it. And Francis' big statement was just, hey, this doesn't make sense. It's not what I'm looking for. Doesn't make sense. Okay. That's not my business. I can't be mad at Francis for that. That just cost Francis a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That just cost Francis life-changing money. I can't be mad. If I'm mad at Francis, then I got my way. He cut off his nose to spite his face. I can't be mad at him. He's already been punished. What good does it do me to be mad at him? All right. Well, then you bring in Joshua, and Joshua shows you how it's done. Right? Joshua and Francis are not remarkably comparable. I mean, not only did they box, they're not remarkably comparable, but in the world of boxing and just the accomplishments. I mean, you take Joshua Benson, Olympic finalist, for goodness sakes, right? Just like lifelong, very well known. multiple generations of boxing ties. Go all the way back to Klitschko. Go all the way back. You couldn't go before Klitschko was there first, but you go all the way back to Klitschko. Anything that has ever happened in the sport of boxing since you can tie Joshua to, and he's a professional and above everything else, he's a real boxer. So if he is to say something makes sense, then it makes sense. Right? If you have Joshua's opinion of does this make sense to now, none of us know what sense mean. We don't even know if he's spelling it with an S or a C. None of us can define or tell you what this means. It makes such little sense that Francis can't even tell you why it doesn't make sense. But again, I can't be mad at Francis. He already pissed down his own leg. So, but if you could have Francis's opinion of what in the world of boxing or combat or money or business or sport makes sense, like Francis's level of success is not remarkably...
Simon Jordan, UK boxing commentator and former football club owner, delivered a brutally honest assessment the idea of Anthony Joshua fighting Jake Paul is stupid and ridiculous. Jordan recognizes that the money involved may be massive, but insists this matchup is about spectacle, not legitimate competition. He stresses that Joshua is a two-time world heavyweight champion who has faced elite contenders and built a respected legacy. Jake Paul, by comparison, is nowhere near that level of experience or accomplishment. Jordan argues a fight would add nothing meaningful to Joshua's career and would instead risk Jake's safety, while further diluting the purity of heavyweight boxing.
Between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul in December. What does it tell us, Simon? Does it tell us more, as I said in the introduction, about the falling star of AJ or the rising one of Jake Paul?
It tells you that there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity. You've got a very talented YouTuber that's built himself into a massive influence with huge following, and you've got a former two-time champion of the world that operates at a very high level of engagement. Whether he's a high level of performer anymore is a different discussion. So it becomes about how much can this fight generate, how many eyes on the prize. I mean, I spoke to his very close friend Michael Jarman about this very fight about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, "Oh, what do you think?" I said, "What difference does it make? Oh, it would potentially jeopardize his legacy. His legacy's sealed. You cannot undo the fact, whatever you think of Anthony Joshua,
It might
as
damage
a fighter,
it.
I don't think so. What it will do is increase his
Yeah.
bank balance. But I think in the great, I mean, it didn't damage Muhammad Ali's reputation to go in with a sumo wrestler, did it?
No, but after, when Joshua was at his peak, Simon, if I had said to you there and then, do you know what? Maybe in December 2025, Anthony Joshua will fight a YouTuber.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the world heavyweight championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.